Welcome to Dive In.
Bienvenidos a Dive In.
Witajcie na festiwalu Dive In.
Welcome to the Dive In Festival.
Willkommen zu Dive In.
Bienvenidos a Dive In.
Welcome to Dive In.
Mabuhay sa Dive In Kapistahan.
Üdvözlünk a Dive In Fesztiválon!
Добро пожаловать на фестиваль Dive In.
ברוכים הבאים. בואו לצלול איתנו.
ডাইভ ইন উৎসবে আপনাদের সকলকে জানাই সাদর আমন্ত্রণ।
Dive In'e yokoso.
Benvenuti al Dive In Festival.
Dive In Festivali'ne hoş geldiniz.
أهلاً بكم في دايف إن.
Please give us your thoughts on the Dive In Festival and its purpose.
I've been involved with Dive In since its launch in 2015, and I believe that attracting a wide range of talent to the insurance industry right now, when we need greater creativity and innovation to be successful in the future, is key. And that's what Dive In seeks to achieve. It seeks to make a more inclusive working space within the insurance industry. Dive In has also helped change some of the conversations, and I know that historically and even now, not everybody has an equality of opportunity, and I believe that Dive In has been helping to change that story.
What's Dive In for me? I would say an opportunity to put the spot on diversity. What do we do with all the questions, all the doubts that we too often keep at the back of our head? Here it's a great moment to put these discussions on the table, to listen to testimonies from all across the world and to progress together.
What's the most frequent barrier experienced in your career development and how to overcome it?
Talking about barriers that need to be overcome within your own experience, but also one where you as a manager or a team leader might be guilty also, is of making decisions for people when they're not in the room and they're not being consulted. So how have I experienced this? When I came back to work after having had my son, I asked for additional project work to be told I needed to focus on my child and that would be enough for now. That wasn't enough for me. But people were having conversations that were limiting my career because they were making judgment calls based on their own personal experiences for their own set of circumstances, which didn't apply to me. So what I learned from that, when as a manager in my own role, is if you're thinking about somebody for a particular job, ask them. Always ask them. It doesn't matter if they've got newborn triplets or they're a single parent or they might have just broken up with their partner or just got together with a new partner. Doesn't matter. Just ask them and see if they want to make that move to a different country. Luckily, when my son was 6, I got asked if I wanted to move to Paris or Munich, and we said yes to Paris, even though it meant becoming effectively a single parent Monday to Thursday. But I was still glad to have been given the choice. So ask people, give people the choice and the freedom to make their own decisions, and don't make them for them.
Barrier to my career development, I would say the little voice in my head. The one who's able to ask so many questions. Can I really do it? Do I deserve it? What will people think about it? This could have been a strong barrier to my development. How to overcome it? First, by looking in the eyes of my people, by asking them feedback, and finally stating that my actions make their life easier, helps them to develop. This has been a strong support to overcome these doubts and take the risks. I would also say that having fun has been a strong support to taking all these risks, finally realizing that I love to do this job, I love to take this position, has also given to me inner confidence to overcome this difficulty and be a better leader.
In my perception, many women shy away from taking over a management position due to 2 reasons. One of the reasons is that they are afraid that as a manager they will not be able to have a proper work-life balance. And that is exactly what I thought when I was offered my first job as a team leader. I was 7 months pregnant and not willing to sacrifice any of that precious mother and son time. On the other hand, the job was a great opportunity and I really wanted to do that. So I talked to my boss and we discussed which circumstances were required for me to be a good mom on the one hand and to give my best to the job on the other hand. And it worked out just fine. And the second reason is that many women are not willing to adopt to the mainly man-made rules and politics that run management levels. And I felt the same way in the beginning, until I realized that these rules will never going to change unless someone started trying to change them. And in my experience, there's a good chance to change things for the better if you are passionately committed, if you act authentically, and if you clearly address your needs and ideas.
The road to a leadership position is never a very obvious one. Just know that you are never ever ready. There is no such thing as perfect timing. You just need to raise your hand, I think that's a very important one, and do it. Learn along the way, listen along the way, and you will succeed. About raising your hand, that is super relevant, especially early on in your career. I had to raise my hand twice, actively, in order to be able to obtain a promotion. Because otherwise people would have totally overlooked me, even though I was a high performer and I was delivering some great work. People don't notice it that way. For me, I was not even the obvious choice. I was the youngest in the team, I had joined the company last, and I just had a baby. When the role presented itself, I definitely needed to raise my hand and explain myself. I had to explain why I thought I was ready to do this role, even though in the back of my mind, I myself, of course, was not 100% convinced that I could do it. I'd never done it before, but still, you need to make sure you overcome your self-limiting beliefs. Something that I learned later on in my career is that it is also very relevant to ask for help. And the best way to do that, and why I think that Dive In is also a very relevant platform, is to connect to like-minded people. I wish that in my days, when I just assumed my first leadership role, I would have had a mentor or at least a few peers that were going through the same thing. This way, you don't need to figure it out all by yourself. Unfortunately, this is something I only learned later in my career. But these days, I make sure I stay connected to a lot of peers, that I have an external coach to talk me through some tricky situations, and I also invest quite some time of my own in mentoring younger people that are still finding their way in corporate life.
How to manage work-life balance?
Managing work-life balance. Here's my thoughts. Are you living to work or working to live? I'm definitely working to live. I know that I'm not indispensable at work, but I am indispensable at home. I am the only mum my child will ever have. So I think it's about retaining a sense of perspective. You know, we work in insurance. We're not medics. We're not doctors. We're not going to be saving lives. So I think it's about being comfortable with doing the best that we can in our day, but not letting it go into the evening or the weekend unless I really have to. You know, sometimes there are occasions where you might have a project or you might have some activity on that you need to do something extra. But as a rule, that's not something I'm going to be doing. So I believe it's important to be there for those around you in your home life and your friends. And if you've got a happy home life and have a good friend network, you're going to be more successful and more effective in your work environment. So my rule is don't sacrifice it. It's important, it's critical, and make sure you place the right emphasis on the important things in your life.
Work-life balance. I have 3 convictions on this topic. The first one is, if you do not take care of it, nobody will. It is my personal responsibility every morning to ask myself, what do I do for myself today, to block a slot on my calendar, to respect it, and to ensure I can be happy at the end of the day. Second conviction, it's a very personal topic, and it requires introspection to know what makes me fulfilled, what makes me happy with my day, what makes me really balanced. Last, it's never been that important to work on this balance. With lockdown, it was so tempting, spending my days in pajamas from early morning till late in the evening, going from calls to calls, writing emails, trying to catch every ball, and finally being so exhausted. But that's not what my team needs from me. What they need is active listening, is smile, is inspiration, is energy. And to be able to give them all that, I need to be energetic, I need to be balanced.
I prefer to speak of work-life integration because I don't believe that work and life are at opposite ends of the scale. Especially in the COVID-19 era, everything seems to be intertwined. I used to struggle with this concept early on in my career because cultural narrative was telling me that you can't have it all, that you must be either a lousy employee or a lousy mother or a lousy daughter or whatever, because if you are working on your career, then you cannot be working on other things. Now, this is a false narrative. You have 168 hours in a week, and with some time management and with some respect for your own time, you can make sure that the pieces of the puzzle fit in a good way. That means that there is plenty of time to be a good employee, to be a good manager, a good friend, a good wife, a good mother, but also take good care of yourself. Because ultimately, that is also a great challenge. You have to prioritize self-care. Only when you live your best life are you able to perform and to give back to other people. And I think as leaders, that is our main task, to give back to other people, to facilitate other people. But if you are not recharged yourself, how can you give? For me, it's also very important that with regard to this topic, you look for peers, you look for role models, you look for like-minded people, and you learn from other people, that you keep challenging your own beliefs around this subject, and that we support each other, that we don't challenge each other or discuss each other's choices or options in a negative way. We need to support each other.
I think a proper work-life balance is very important for the individuals, because at the end of your lives, you're not going to regret that one deal that you did not do, but you're going to regret if you did not spend enough time with the ones you loved. But it is also very important for the organization. But we as employees can only bring our A games if we have a social life, if we have a physical counterbalance to the office jobs we do, and if we take proper care of ourselves. Unfortunately, most organizations still have the tendency to overload the desk of their best players. My advice is, do take care of yourself. No one else will do. And it's for the benefit of all parties involved.
What do you think the benefits of diversity are?
I think diversity brings lots of different viewpoints and different opinions into a conversation. I think that makes for better decision making and ultimately greater success in any organisation in which you work. I also love it when people bring different views and perspectives to a challenge and they come up with a different thought or a different way of doing something that I would never have thought about. I think that's great, and I get a lot of energy from that. So that's what diversity means for me in terms of the workplace.
I think by now it is undisputed that diverse teams deliver better results. But to make this magic work, it is essential to have an environment that really allows for diverse opinions too. There is no use in having a team made up from different genders, ages, ethnicities, if all the boss is ever going to listen to is a streamlined perspective on things. What we need is leaders that are open-minded and are curious to listen to voices from different points of view.
It's not only an opportunity, it's also a necessity. Our industry faces incredibly complex challenges. To tackle them, we must attract the best talents and talents want an attractive workplace, and definitely diversity is a cornerstone of such an environment.
What was the biggest factor to advance your career? What is your why to keep pushing every day?
My why for pushing every day is because something can always be better. We can always provide a better service. We can always improve our processes and be more efficient. We can always upskill our people. Things can always be better. And my reason to drive on and be there every day is to make a difference. I want tomorrow to be different to today, and I want tomorrow to be better than today. And that's why I keep going.
In each career, quite a lot of challenges and obstacles will come your way. To cope well with them, I think it is very important to have a purpose, to know why you're doing what you're doing every day. What keeps me going is the awareness that as a leader, I can contribute to the future of my organization. I can contribute to make it a great place to work for its employees, a great investment opportunity for its shareholders, and a great partner for its clients.
Has the work environment changed throughout your career? If so, how and why do you think so?
When I entered this industry, the insurance industry to be precise, a little over 12 years ago, I used to joke with my friends that the only people I worked with were grey suits. Everybody, men and women, everybody was wearing grey suits. Everybody was behaving in the same way. Actually, everybody looked like the other person did. I'm happy to report that in the last decade, a lot has changed in our sector, but it's still not where it's supposed to be. I've experienced firsthand how important it is to have a diverse team. Early on in my career, when I first assumed leadership roles, diversity, to be honest, was not high on my agenda. When you are a young manager without many role models, you're just trying to survive in the environment you're put in. But as you progress in your career, and as you become older and also come into a position where you are able to create your own teams, only then do you see what diversity can do for you, how important it is also for the company. Because I truly have seen and believe that teams that have various backgrounds, various genders, various beliefs and ideas, they can reinforce each other like no other. It is definitely not always the easiest route, but is the one most fruitful if you look at the long term. And honestly, it's also personally the most challenging one. It's an environment in which everybody can learn and can grow, and ultimately a company can thrive.
Did culture change throughout my career? Yes, but honestly, it is nothing compared to all what we've been experiencing over the last months with VUCA, with COVID, with working from home. The rules of the game have changed, and we have to fully reinvent the way we lead our teams. Playing roles does not work anymore. Trust, empathy, empowerment are now the basics of a successful leader. And so, being fully present at work, being yourself at work, are now attributes that leaders must have to deserve the trust of their team.
When I started working, there was a strong hierarchy, and command and control was the common way to lead people. As a consequence to the more and more volatile, uncertain, complex and ambiguous times we're experiencing, this changed rapidly over the last years, and will even more so now we're discussing how to work in a new normal. Employees now are expected to work self-empowered, to take over full responsibility for their work and to decide for themselves how they are going to achieve a specific goal. Self-organized cross-functional teams are replacing the classic desk worker. To some people, these changes come naturally. They are happy to contribute and appreciate the freedom and creative challenge. They thrive in this way to work. Others are thunderstruck by the huge change and they need help. Leaders are called to support those people and to help them develop the skills and confidence they need to adopt and flourish in the new environment.